Hey everyone, it's Mari. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a project here today for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop and blog. And the product highlight over on the blog this week is the cut files that are in the shop. So over in the shop, there's a whole bunch of free downloads that you can use. And the cut files are gorgeous. And I really like this particular file. It's called Stellar Shapes. And it comes with four circular images, three of which you can see on my layout here. And then one you can just see off to the left. And the one to the left there had a star in the center. And I kind of wanted to stick with ones that kind of looked more floral-like. And I just really love these cut files. I think they're really cool. And I just cut them from some white cardstock. And I think I used a 5 setting on my Cameo. I like to set my Cameo blade depth a little bit deeper just because I just hate it when, you know, you go to take it off the mat and it doesn't cut all the way through. So I usually set the depth of my blade a little bit more deep, and I usually use a double cut setting. Now I'm working on some basil marshmallow cardstock here, and I'm going to use the packaging technique with some Distress Oxide inks to create a backing for each of those 3 cut files I'm going to be using. So just a few seconds ago, you saw me taking a pencil and just marking on my paper kind of where I knew I wanted those cut files to sit. And that just kind of gives me a little bit of a visual as to where I want to put the inks on my layout. So I'm going to be using some worn lipstick, some fossilized amber, and some peacock feathers in these 3 different cluster areas. And you'll just see me adding that ink to a piece of really thin plastic. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to that and then just apply that down onto my paper. Now, I didn't treat my basil cardstock with anything. This cardstock is really super thick, and it takes mixed media really well. If you're going to be using a lot of water, it's a good idea to gesso the paper first, but I wasn't intending to use too much moisture with this, so it was fine, and it actually does not warp at all. So you can see that I just keep going back and putting my cut files on there to make sure that I'm kind of getting enough ink on there and that the ink is kind of going in the right areas where I want it. And I'm okay with that yellow and pink mixing to make orange. I think that looks really pretty. And these Distress Oxide inks are my favorite ink to do this packaging technique with. They work really well for any kind of watercoloring kind of techniques that you might want to use or whatever. They are fantastic inks. And I know that the shop has tons of the colors in stock, or they did when I created this video. So I'm just going to keep that going until I've got enough of that blue, the peacock feathers in all of those different little areas, and until I'm happy with how that looks. So just see me continuing to add that down. And I'm just taking a baby wipe and dabbing up the excess. I like using a baby wipe because paper towel, I find, picks up a lot of the pigment, and the baby wipe is already wet, so it will only absorb a certain amount of it. And when I want to have a really bold color, I find that it is really nice to use a baby wipe to dab up the excess. And so you'll just see me, you know, wiping that plastic off, adding more color and so on. This is a really easy technique. It's a great way to add some mixed media in a really simple and easy way to your layouts. So now you can see that I've got those cut files on there, and I'm just going to take some, I think they're Derice foam strips. I'm not sure if these are back in stock at the shop or not. I know that they were in stock at one point. You'd have to check, but they are really great because they are just these tiny little strips, and they work perfect for this because this cut file is pretty fine. The lines on it are not incredibly thick. And I did want to pop these images up off of my layout just to give it a little bit more dimension so it's not quite as flat. So you're going to see me just add little bits of that foam adhesive to the back here, and I'll stick that down. I don't show all 3 doing this process. I just show you this one. cut file that's going to be to the left of the photograph. And I'm going to just adhere that down. And actually, right about now, the power goes off. And that means that the lights went out, obviously. So I took a little break here and I was kind of picking through my papers, deciding how I wanted to back my photograph. So my photograph is a 4x3 in landscape. It's black and white, and I wanted to just do some really simple layering here. So I've already backed it with a piece of vellum that has a little bit of gold foiling in it. Just a really fine detail. It's hardly even noticeable, but it just adds just a little bit of a layer. And then I took one of the tags from the Pebbles Patio Party collection, and I just cut that out. It was on one of the cut apart sheets, and I just cut it in half and added it to each end of my photograph here, just because I wanted a little pop of black and white in my layers. Now I'm just going to add it to a piece of this flamingo paper that's also from Patio Party from the 6x6 pad. And I'm just going to add a really thin bit of a border around all sides of the photograph. Now I'm going to be using just the Patio Party collection from Pebbles for this layout. I don't use any other collection here. It's a gorgeous collection. It's great for summer. It's very summery. It's so bright. And that is how I was inspired to use the ink colors that I used on my background. So oftentimes what I do, I almost always start my layouts by picking my photograph. Almost always. Like rarely do I start with a layout without having a photo in mind. And so I printed my photo and then I decided what collection I was going to use. And once I had decided on the collection, that's when I went in and picked out the mixed media colors that I was going to use. Now, often when I'm using a photograph that has conflicting colors, that's when I'm going to print it in black and white. And so you can see that's what I've done here. This photograph was actually in color originally. It's not a black and white photo. And what I did was I just put it into PicMonkey and I did just some really minor editing with it, and then I printed it in black and white on my Epson PictureMate. So you can just see me adding a bunch of foam adhesive here to some of the die cuts. I'm going to do the same thing with each of the different embellishment areas and clusters. So each of those cut files is going to be a cluster, and I'm going to start out with a die cut floral piece from Patio Party. Then I'm going to add one of the dimensional stickers from the collection. Then I'm going to add a butterfly or some kind of a bug from the cardstock sticker sheet. And I'm going to put a flamingo in 2 of the 3 embellishment areas. I would have added a flamingo to the top, but the flamingo was too tall and it would have actually been cut off. I'm actually going to stop my I'm going to stop this narration for a second. I'm going to save it and I'll be right back because it is storming out and I'm afraid I'm going to lose power. So hang on. Okay, I'm back. The storm is still happening out there. It's actually really crazy. You might even hear the thunder and lightning as it's going on out there. It was super hot today, like 30 degrees and super humid. And so it's not really a big surprise that it's storming out. Like I said, I'm just going to do a cluster. They're all really similar, what I'm doing with each one of these clusters on these cut files. I did put a flamingo on each of the cut files or on the clusters at the bottom and to the left, but the cut file at the top is just a little bit too close to the top of the layout, and another flamingo would not have fit up there. It would have been kind of like off the layout. So it actually is balanced fairly well without a flamingo on the top, I think. So I liked how this looks. Now this photograph that I'm scrapping is of Bailey and Brady. It's another one of their engagement photos. I plan to do a flip through of that album pretty soon here. This voiceover I'm doing on June the 10th. But this video is not going to go up until July. So I'm thinking that sometime in maybe the 2nd or 3rd week of June, I'll put a video up of a flip through of that album. I'm just trying to this weekend get a bunch of my assignments done for the 2 creative teams that I'm part of because that wedding is coming up very quickly. This weekend and next weekend are the last 2 weekends that we're going to be home before the wedding. And so it's going to be super busy. Our son is going to be getting home on the 30th of June, and he's actually going to be home for a while, so that's going to be really nice. And my sister is going to be home from Ontario, and just, it's going to be lots of fun, and we're going to have lots going on, and I will not have any scrappy time whatsoever. So I am just going to be posting a bunch of stuff and getting a whole bunch of stuff done and ready, so that there will be a few things on my channel each week. I should have probably about maybe one video up a week or so in June for sure, and maybe even in July. We'll see how it goes. So you can just see that I'm putting a little butterfly on each of those clusters there. I don't remember. I think maybe, yeah, I leave those butterflies there. And then I have, I think, a dragonfly on the cluster to the left. Now I'm just going to use just one of the puffy sticker word phrases or phrases from the puffy sticker sheet from the patio party, and with the word smile. And then I'm using some Pink Fresh Studio puffy alphas to spell out the word your in pink. So the title will be Your Smile. And then I'm going to just take a couple of other little stickers, 3 little stickers that are the little bumblebees, and I'm going to stick those on in 3 different places. And I'm going to add kind of like the little flight path of those little bumblebees on there. I guess those little bees are already on there, sorry. And I'm going to add a little flight path to those with my black gel pen. And you'll just see me doing that here. I actually had penciled that in, and now I'm just going to go over that with this black ink. I'm going to add my journaling to the bottom of the layout. I'm just going to draw some lines on there with a pencil and write the journaling in with the same black pen. This is I think it's a Pentel hybrid is what this one's called. I have a lot of pens. I have a little bit of a pen fetish, and I really love buying stuff from Jet Pens. This particular one is just really, really great for using with mixed media on art journals and stuff like that. So now I'm going to just take my peacock feather ink, and I'm going to go around the edge of the layout just to give the edges a little bit of definition. And then you'll see after a little transition here, I'm going to show you the journaling, and the journaling lines, or the lines underneath the journaling, I just sewed with some gold thread, so that there's just a little bit of sewing on there, and you can see that here in the close-up. So I'm just showing you the little trails there behind those little bees. I am going to leave the link in the description box below for the online shop over at Scrapbook Nerd and the blog. Make sure you check it out. They've got a lot of cool stuff in the shop, and they have some amazing cut files. Thanks so much for stopping by today, guys. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you back here soon. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.